Okay, please be seated. Thank you, everyone. You've made it to the 18th meeting of City Council for this year, and I'm going to start by doing a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that we are gathered today on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Lenape-Pewak, and Attawandaron peoples. We honor and respect the history, languages, and culture of the diverse Indigenous people who call this territory home. We acknowledge all of the treaties that are specific to this area: the Two-Row Wampum Belt Treaty of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, Silver Covenant Chain, Beaver Hunting Grounds Treaty of the Haudenosaunee Nanfan Treaty of 1701, the McKee Treaty of 1790, the Lennon Township Treaty of 1796, the Huron Tract Treaty of 1827 with the Anishinaabe, and the Dish with One Spoon coveted wampum of the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee. The three Indigenous nations that are neighbors to the City of Lennon are the Chippewas of the Thames First Nation, Oneida Nation of the Thames, and the Munsee Delaware Nation, who all continue to live as sovereign nations with individual and unique languages, cultures, and customs. City of Lennon is also committed to making every effort to providing alternate formats and communication supports for meetings upon request. If you'd like to make a request specific to this meeting, you can contact councilagenda@london.ca or 519-661-2489, extension 2425. With that, I'm delighted to be able to introduce today's performer of the national anthem. Nathan Nikor is a classical and jazz pianist, teacher, composer, and band leader based in London here. He holds a master's degree in piano performance, as well as a master's degree in music theory. Nathan leads various groups which perform regularly in this area, including his trio, the Nathan Nikor Trio, and his 7-piece jazz fusion band, Juice Joint. His ensemble, Juice Joint, has performed at notable festivals, including Sunfest, Aeolian Hall Jazz Festival, Venue, and and you can catch Nathan leading the band at the Lighting of the Lights this Friday at Victoria Park. So hopefully everyone will be able to come out to that. So please join me, please rise and join me in welcoming Nathan, who will now perform the national anthem for us. All right, that brings us to disclosures of pecuniary interest. I'll look to see if colleagues have any disclosures for today. All right, seeing none, that brings us to recognitions. I'll be going to the podium to do the recognitions today. Well, it's my distinct pleasure. Ooh, there we go. Sorry, I got to be closer. My distinct pleasure today to provide these recognitions. Human Rights Day is observed every day on November 10th, the day in 1948 when the United Nations General Assembly adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The UDHR is a milestone document which recognizes the inherent dignity of the equal, indivisible, and inalienable rights of all members of the human family and is the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world. Regardless of race, color, religion, sex, language, political or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or other status, it is available in 500 languages and is the most translated document in the world. The Diversity, Race Relations, and Inclusivity Awards focuses on 4 key areas which nominees are asked to respond to in their submissions. First, that it contributes to the promotion of diversity, race relations, inclusivity, and human rights in London and promotes London as a welcoming city. Second, there is a short or long-term impact that the initiative has on the promotion of diversity, race relations, inclusivity, and human rights in London and promotes London as a welcoming city. Third, the potential for expansion or inspiration for replication of the initiative. And fourth, how receiving this award can be used to encourage further diversity, race relations, and inclusivity and human rights in London and further promote London as a welcoming city. This year, we are pleased to recognize the contributions of 3 local community-based organizations. First is the Needham Funeral Home, and if representatives from Needham would like to come forward, get them going. We'll just wait 1 sec. Great. I'll have Needham Funeral Home. If you want to come right to the front, the representatives who want to come up, you can stand just off to the side here. I'm going to read nice things about you. I just wanted to wait for you to get here before I did it, right? So, all right. So the category for this award recipient is small business, 49 or fewer employees. The initiative, Needham Funeral Services, exemplifies a strong commitment to inclusivity, compassion, and community service. Their proactive respect for diverse culture and religious practices distinguishes them in the industry, as evidenced by their participation in events like the Pride Parade and the collaboration with local schools. They provide a private space for Muslims to prepare their deceased loved ones, demonstrating a deep understanding of the community's needs. Their philanthropic efforts include donations to Oneida Indigenous community and support for homeless initiatives. These highlight their dedication to helping those in need. Through interfaith services and outreach programs, they offer holistic support to bereaved families, always seeking new ways to provide care during challenging times. Their compassionate approach fosters a sense of belonging and sets an inspiring example for other businesses in the community with their engagement. Please join me in congratulating Needham Funeral Home. Say a few words. Go ahead. We'll do a picture. Do you want to get in the picture?
Oh,
first?
yes, please. So there are 2 things in life that people don't like talking about, taxes and death, and here we are, the irony, I'm at City Hall. On behalf of everyone at Needham Funeral Service, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to the City of London for this award and for recognizing our daily dedication to compassion, inclusivity, and service to our community. Our mission is to assist every family that comes to us with dignity, compassion, and respect, regardless of beliefs, background, economic status, or physical capabilities. Inclusivity is the core of what we do. And we work diligently with the diverse community we serve, crafting tribute to loved ones to provide cherished memories. I consider myself fortunate to work alongside an incredible, compassionate team. Their commitment to exceeding expectations for families we serve is truly remarkable. Every day you come into our funeral home for an event, it is completely transformed to reflect that person's identity, their culture, and to represent the life they have lived. I would like to take a moment to focus on the exceptional team at Needham Funeral Service. While half of them are here, the other half is at the funeral home serving families as we speak. Each day, our team tends to the needs of families throughout London Middlesex region. We are also part of the SCI group that owns about 95% of the funeral industry in the US, and we have a large number from Windsor to GTA to Ontario, all over Canada. So one of our services is you can have a viewing here in London and a viewing in Toronto, because we have diverse locations at different parts of the country. They personalize service with attention to detail to honor loved ones in a meaningful way. Although much of our work happens behind the scenes, I assure you that everyone at Needham's gives their all to support families through what is challenging, life-altering, and sometimes traumatic experiences. We ensure that no one faces the journey alone. We are with our families every step of the way, and we are humbled and honored to serve the families of London and Middlesex every day. Thank you.
You guys can go whichever way you like. You don't have to stay for the meeting if you don't want, but you can. You can. Yeah, thank you. See you soon. Next, I'd like to invite the London Afrocentric Association representatives to come to the front. You can come right up. You can come right over here. The category for this is social and community services, including not-for-profits, 49 or fewer employees or members. The initiative, the Essence and Culture Awards, was created by a group of business and community organizations who joined forces to form a group known as the London Afrocentric Community Association, the LACA. The mandate and mission of the LACA is to unite London's many Black communities in spite of their differences and because of our shared similarities, by recognizing the contributions of the nominees and the recipients to the awards that they give out. The third annual Essence and Culture Award ceremony took place this year on February 18th, 2024, and I know all of us will get an invitation for the 2025 version coming up. Please join me in congratulating the London Afrocentric Association on their award today. All right.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you to the mayor and the council and everybody here. we're a COVID baby. As you know, with the effects of COVID, and one of the things we tried to do was to create an event that gives hope and also recognize the achievements of, as you heard before, of the nominees and the winners as well. Um, we want to share this with London. When I moved to London about, I'm going to say about 30 years ago, and I walked down the street, I didn't see as many black faces as I see now. And I'm not even going to say black faces, minority faces, right? So fast forward for a few years, COVID comes along, and we have business what we call core businesses, and for us, the core businesses, and I think there's a staple of all our black communities are the barber shops, the restaurants, um, the hair salons, and so on. So consequently, those core businesses in COVID are going to be hurt the most, right? So with those core businesses getting together to do something like this, I thought it would show a certain amount of resilience and hope. And so here we are with the Essence and Culture Awards. We have about 23 awards, everything from medicine and science, educators, community service, music, and arts, whether performing, visual. And like I said, the hope is that we can share this with the rest of London, share this with our communities. And when I say our communities, our last count, there was about 15 countries represented in London, right? This year, we decided that after that we should be bilingual. So we're excited the fact that our website is now in English and French, and we're actually going to try to get it as much as possible, the entire awards translated. We invite everyone here. We'll be sending out invitations. We hope to see you. And once again, thank you. And I got to say, I have a great team. Some of them are represented here. And so once again, we thank you and invite you. And the date is February 16, 2025 at the Wolf Performance Hall. 5 to 6 are cocktails, 6 to 9:30 is the awards. Hope to see you all there.
Sarah, can you? Thank you. They're all having such a good time in the back. No one wants to come out and get their award. All right, I'm gonna ask the recipients, Black Health, London Health Sciences Center, to come to the front, please. You can come right up beside me. You're all welcome to come. Yeah, right over here. Perfect. Come on over. Absolutely. So this category is the social community services, including not-for-profits, 50 or more employees or members. And the initiative, the Black Health Team was established by LHSC in May of 2023 and operates as an integral part of the Office of Inclusion and Social Accountability. It was established in acknowledgement of the many inequities in the healthcare that exist and to actively engage in working towards identifying and dismantling systemic, institutional, and attitudinal barriers to improve healthcare experiences and health outcomes of Black people. Through consultation and collaboration with Black individuals and community partners, they seek to build trusting relationships so that they can learn more about their healthcare experiences and how they can improve services to better serve them. The Black Health team is committed to working with all members of the Team LHSC as they advance their collective learnings on issues important to Black patients, families, and community members, and build their capacity to provide care that is culturally relevant and sensitive to the needs of this equity-denied group. Please join me in the congratulating Black Health team at London Health Sciences Centre. Perfect.
I would like to thank the committee and thank the City of London. You know, the work that we do really does align with the recently launched anti-hate campaign. You know, it's so important that we recognize that there are people within the city, marginalized individuals who will never walk through the doors of LHSC or other health centers, not because necessarily harm that LHSC has you know, kind of inflicted upon individuals. And when I say harm, it's past harms that folks have and mistrust in the healthcare system. And so what we're trying to do as a team is really to build those trusting relationships so that the community feels safe to come in, that their voices will be heard, that they will get the care that they need and rightfully deserve. And so that's the kind of work that we're trying to do. And I think that we align really nicely with the work that the City of London is doing to make not only LHSC and the city a welcoming place for all individuals. So just really want to thank my team who has supported me, my mother who has taught me equity from, you know, from through her kindness and her generosity, and, you know, Justin, who is a staunch volunteer, Stephanie, who has supported this work and a fellow member at LHSC, one of our Black Health navigators, Sashani, who is here, and she really does help the patients through their care journey, supporting them in meetings and helping them to translate sometimes difficult medical information. And last but not least, definitely want to thank my husband, who listens to me at the end of the day for the past 30 years and really does, you know, for better or worse, because this is not easy work to do. So thank you very much.
And that concludes the recognitions for this council meeting. Okay, so we're on to review of confidential matters to be considered in public. There are none. We have 5 items for council in closed session, which are all listed on the agenda. We'll look for a motion to go into closed session from colleagues. Moved by Councillor Cuddy, seconded by Councillor McAllister. We will open that for voting.
Councillor Hopkins.
I vote yes.
Noted. Thank you. Closing the vote. Motion carries 14-0.
Okay, we'll be moving to committee room 5, so I will see colleagues there. Okay, thank you. Please be seated. All right, we've completed our in-camera session. We're on to confirmation and signing of the minutes of the previous meetings. I have the 17th meeting held on November 5th, 2024. I'm looking for a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Councillor Frank, seconded by Councillor Cuddy. Any discussions on the minutes? Okay, seeing none, we'll open that for voting.
I vote yes.
Noted, thank you. Closing the vote, motion carries 14-0.
Next, we have a number of communications and petitions, all related to different areas of the agenda. We have a consolidated motion to refer all those to the relevant sections of the agenda. Look for a mover and a seconder of that. See, moved by Deputy Mayor Lewis, seconded by Councillor Pribble. Any discussion? Okay, we'll open that for voting.
Closing the vote, motion carries 14-0.
Okay, we have no motions to which notice was given, so we're on to reports. We'll start with the 17th report of SPPC, and I'll turn it over to Deputy Mayor Lewis to present that report.
Thank you, Worship. I've been asked to have 13 pulled separately. Otherwise, I'm not aware of anything that folks want dealt with individual votes, and I'm prepared to put 1 through 12 on the floor.
Okay, Councillor Hopkins, something separate?
Yes, 12 and 13 to reflect that I did not support these.
Okay, 13 separate. Will you want 12 as well? We'll do that. Anything else someone wants separate? Go ahead.
All right, then I will move 1 through 11.
Okay, 1 through 11 is on the floor. I'll look for any discussion on those matters. Councillor Stevenson, go ahead.
Thank you. I just have a few comments on the strategic plan progress report. It is something that I've been struggling with since I got elected. I'm hoping at some point there's an opportunity to discuss how we can make this a little bit of a better process. I'm not feeling a lot of satisfaction with the way the strategic plan and the progress reports go. The whole of community system response for Q3, you know, I'll just say again, I feel as though it's a task list that we're letting us know where we're at with the tasks, but this is a crisis in our city that we committed to solving via the whole of community response. And I haven't heard an update 2 years in as to how are we doing. I mean, the sentiment out on the street is that things are worse. And so when we talked about in the beginning, it was going to be measured on fewer deaths, fewer encampments, more people housed. I would love to see where we're at, how we've progressed over these last 2 years. I'd love to see updates on the finances, what the system is costing us in terms of tax dollars. And on our service depot location update report, I heard my colleagues regarding the saturation of encampment supports in one area of the city, and I do agree. And I do want to discuss the saturation of shelter services and social service supports in one area of the city, in an area of the city that's even smaller than what was proposed in terms of encampments. So I'll bring forward some things to a future committee, but I just wanted to put those comments on the record.
Okay, any other speakers? Okay, so this is 1 through 11. It's moved by the chair. We'll open that for voting.
Closing the vote, motion carries 14-0.
Go ahead.
All right, Your Worship. Item 12, I'm ready to put on the floor. I do know that there were clauses that were voted on separately at the committee level. So just trying to see if the councillor who asked for this pulled wants to vote just on the whole thing, or whether she would like clauses dealt with separately.
Councillor Hopkins, how did you want that divided out?
I think I'm fine with the whole thing.
Okay, then I'm prepared to remove, or prepared to move the entirety of item 12.
Okay, all of item 12 is on the floor. Any comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, then we'll open that for voting.
Closing the vote, motion carries 12-2.
Back to you.
Okay, I'm now prepared to put item 13 on the floor. I did have a specific request to have clause V dealt with separately. So I'm prepared to, depending on the will of the clerks in terms of what's more logical from their point of view with order of operations, I can put item 5 on the floor first, deal with that, and then deal with all other items afterward, or I can deal with all other items and then 5, whichever order of operations makes sense.
We're just going to do 5 first, get that out of the way, and then we can pass. We can put everything else all together.
Okay, so I will put item 13, clause 5 on the floor. That is efficient meeting management, provide for the option to put the question at committees where all of council constitutes the membership.
Okay, if that's on the floor, I'll look for any discussion. Go ahead, Councillor Stevenson.
Thank you. I raised my concerns at committee around this one, and I did send out an email and put some things out on social media. I've had a lot of response. In fact, over 50 emails in just a 24-hour notice period, and I'll say that's more than the response rate was on our budget feedback. I'm very concerned about this. And I'm very concerned about it for a few reasons. One is from a broader perspective of the limits that I'm seeing put on freedom of expression in this country. I'm also concerned from a personal stance as to the limits on my freedom of expression that I have felt exerted on me since I got elected. The idea of putting the question is allowed at council. My understanding is that's to avoid potentially repetitive debate on something that's already been addressed at committee. Committee is the place where we're supposed to have the discussion and the debate. We're not supposed to be doing it behind the scenes and then just coming into the public and doing the vote. So even if it's all of council at budget or at SPPC, that is where we're supposed to be having the public discussion. And I'm very concerned that on either side of political arguments, we will have the minority voice silenced. Because either side could use this put the question to avoid listening to the minority voices. Personally, I have already had my voice silenced twice at council. Once was in a brand new amendment that was being brought forward that hadn't been discussed previously at committee. And I stated clearly when presenting the amendment that I would like to withhold my comments to the end. And a colleague put the question and prevented me from advocating on the amendment that I brought forward. Technically, it's completely allowable. It's not very collegial. It's not representative of our diversity, equity, inclusion principles that very clearly state they also include thinking styles, opinions, and life experiences. And we are setting the tone here for how we are with each other when opinions are shared or questions are asked that aren't what we see as right or valid. It was mentioned at Budget Committee on Friday to put the question. I put forward an amendment that had not been previously discussed. It was an amendment to reduce the tax levy by 2%, something that a lot of Londoners have been strongly advocating that this council take a serious look at. There was only 20 minutes of discussion, and a colleague of mine said, I'm not able to put the question yet. So at Budget Committee, are we going to start putting the question just because we don't like what's been brought forward? not going to allow each other to discuss and debate matters of serious consequences to Londoners. We're talking about the Strategic Priorities and Policy Committee, and we're going to put the question and not allow the elected representatives of different areas of this city to speak, to respond to what others have said. It is the opportunity for public debate so that the public can hear us debate and offer their feedback for or against prior to us doing the vote at council. If we limit that discussion and debate, we are limiting the residents of this city to hear and understand what it is that we're discussing, to have thought and input into the decisions that are made. The diversity, equity, inclusion thing, honestly, is a really big thing for me. In the kitchen of the council, the councilor's kitchen, there is the inclusive, diverse, and exceptional poster. And it says that a truly diverse workplace environment recognizes, draws upon, and respects the unique characteristics, capabilities, and experiences of each employee. We believe that by embracing diverse perspectives, our organization becomes more creative,
30
flexible,
seconds.
and productive, thereby increasing our service capacity. It says more great things. I've questioned the effectiveness of programs and policies on social media. It's been frowned upon. I've had agencies file code of conduct complaints threatening me if I don't stop, calling me dangerous. Those code of conduct complaints have expanded beyond agencies and social services. The attempts to limit speech have already happened in terms of 5-minute limits at committee. I support that because it puts boundaries on us for
And
which
with
we
that,
have to.
you're at 5 minutes now, Councillor.
All right, well, I'm asking for your support in allowing this debate to continue at committee.
Other speakers? Go ahead, Councillor Pribble.
Thank you. I'll be very brief. I didn't support this at the committee, and when I started my term, I was told the work is done at the committee level, not at the council. And if I look at our quorum restrictions or policies that we have, this is the only opportunity I feel we truly have to really discuss the things and get to the more details among all of us. So I did not support it, and I will not be supporting it at this time. Thank you.
Other speakers? Deputy Mayor Lewis.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I supported this at committee, and I'm going to support it again today. And I think that it's important to correct a couple of things on the record. Asking for the question to be put does not end debate there. It still requires a majority vote of council to approve putting the question. So if the majority of colleagues feel that the debate is still relevant and is still going to progress the matter, putting the question can be voted down. It doesn't end the debate unless the majority of council feels that we've had sufficient debate. Now, when we talk about committee, you know, I would entertain if folks really feel that they need to tweak this a little bit. If they wanted to say that the question be put after each member of council has had their first opportunity to speak, I might consider supporting that. But what I have seen happen at committee sometimes as a councillor, and I want to be very clear, I'm not actually talking about Councillor Stevenson here, I'm talking about another member of council who's used 2 minutes, waited till everybody else spoke, came back for a second turn, then asked for a time extension on their remaining 3 minutes, and then wanted to have an amendment after that, which would have provided another 5 minutes. Putting the question is an opportunity to end a procedural attempt at delaying getting to a vote on something, in my opinion. That's my opinion. I recognize Councillor Stevenson and I may not agree on that, but that is why I feel that this is a valuable tool to have. I will also say, when we talk about some of the motions that came forward at Budget Committee, I think our budget chair pointed out very clearly last week, because she read out the votes to us from a year ago. We had multiple amendments brought forward where we spent hours last week to get to the exact same vote. We spent another hour that I looked at going back, not on one amendment, but on multiple amendments, where the vote was 13-1. So to me, I don't feel that that is a really efficient use of time when we have one person speaking in favor, and then we just spend the next 40 minutes with 11 people speaking against. I think at that point, we could call the question. I don't think it's necessary that all of us stand up and use our full 5 minutes to say the exact same thing on things, which has happened. Now, that's my opinion. Others may have a different opinion and take on it. But to me, I think that a lot of the discussion does happen before we even get to this floor. We need seconders, we ask questions of staff, we do those things to prepare ourselves before we even come into these meetings. And so to me, I don't see this as some giant change to our system, because this isn't limiting work at standing committees of 5. This is at the committees where the whole of council is constituted. And that means we already get a chance, each of us, to speak twice, once at committee and once again at council. So I'm comfortable supporting this. I don't think that anybody should presume that putting the question is necessarily going to guarantee that council is going to vote in favor of putting the question. They may or they may not, depending on how the debate has been going. But I think that is the prerogative of council to decide whether we've had enough debate or not. So that's why I will be continuing to support this.
Thank you. I'm just going to take a moment from the chair just to keep the debate focused, just to provide some clarification on just a couple of things that were said. So putting the question in the procedure bylaw requires 2/3 of council, not a simple majority. So it's a 2/3 threshold. There are also other restrictions on it. So I think the example was given of the motion at committee to reduce the tax rate. So that would not have qualified for a put the question, because it's not permitted on expenditures that are over $1 million. So you can't put the question on something that is above a threshold on a budget item either. There are a number of restrictions colleagues can see for putting the question in sections 11.14 and 11.15 in the procedure bylaw. So I just, because I don't want colleagues to start debating things that would not be actually what's on the floor. So I just wanted to provide that context for you. I'll go to other speakers. Okay. Seeing none, then this is just on the putting the question component of the committee's recommendation, which is item 5 or V. We're going to open that for vote.
Closing the vote, motion carries 8-6.
Okay, Deputy Mayor.
I will now put the balance of 13 on the floor. That will be clauses 1 through 4 and clause 6.
Okay, 1 through 4 and clause 6 are now on the floor. Any discussion on those? Go ahead, Councillor Ferreira.
Thanks, Mayor. I wanted to, I guess, touch on clause 3, the delegation requests. I see that what's written here is to develop clear criteria for delegation requests for future standing committee meetings, allowing those submitted by other levels of governments, agencies, boards, commissions, professional organizations, and professional associations. I feel like it would be prudent if we added the word citizen in there as well, just because I fear that if we are prescriptive here on the different entities, I guess, that would be allowed here, we may be crowding out the average individual. So I would be, I guess let me just look to the clerks first to see if we were to have this clause moved as it is, would we be, I guess, crowding out the average citizen who would want to submit a delegation request for the added agenda? Would they be able to actually submit that request?
I'm going to let the committee chair answer first, and the clerk just told me I missed part of that question because I was chatting with the mayor. That's my fault. So I'll have it go here first. I'll fill him in on what you were saying.
So I will point out to colleagues that section 2 of this motion actually speaks to the public delegations, and those are members of the public, ensuring that public delegation requests align with items listed on that meeting agenda, supporting focused and relevant participation. The reason that item 3 is separated out is because you may receive from is listed, like other levels of governments, boards, agencies. There may be things come forward that require delegation because it is a time-sensitive matter, funding applications, things like that, to align with senior levels of government. And that's why it was actually broken out into 2 separate clauses, so that we dealt with the public one in one clause and the other organizations in other clauses. For further clarity, Your Worship, I also want to indicate when it says refer delegation requests that relate to specific agenda items to a public participation meeting where appropriate, that's specific to where things like bylaw changes that require a public participation as a matter of legislative requirement, refer the delegations all to the public participation meeting so that individuals are not speaking as a delegation on a consent draft bylaw and then speaking again at the public participation meeting on the same draft bylaw. And so that's why that clause with respect to the public participation meetings was included there. So I hope that provides some clarity. The public piece is actually addressed in clause 2.
Go ahead, Councillor.
Okay, thank you for that answer. I was looking at clause 2, so I see that, just to recap, just in summary, clause 2 is covering the section of my concern. Clause 3 is specific to, I guess, the individuals or entities or organizations that's described there. So, okay, I'm okay with that then.
Other speakers on it? Okay, then we're going to open that for vote.
Closing the vote, motion carries 14-0.
Go ahead.
Okay, Your Worship, so that concludes the 17th report of the Strategic Priorities and Policy Committee. And I'm just going to remain on my feet because Chair Lehman is joining us by Zoom today ill. And the next item is the Planning and Environment Committee report, which he's asked me to present on his behalf.
And I'd just go ahead with that then.
So on the 18th report, or the 17th report of the Planning and Environment Committee, I am prepared to put all of the items with the exception of item 6, 145 Baseline Road West, and item 9, 1408 and 1412 Commissioners Road West on the floor. The 2 items that I'm having pulled, the clerk had noted that there were housekeeping amendments that needed to, the committee clerk had noted that there were a couple of amendments that needed to be made to the bylaws, and those were circulated, so that just some housekeeping from the committee level. So I'm prepared to put everything but those 2 items on the floor at this point.
Okay, would anybody like anything else separate other than those 2? Okay, I'll let you make a motion.
All right, so I am prepared to put 1 through 5, 7, and 8 on the floor, as well as 10.
Okay, that's on the floor. Any discussion on those items? Okay, seeing none, we'll open that for vote.
Closing the vote, motion carries 14-0.
Go ahead.
And I will now put item 6, this is 145 Baseline Road West, on the floor, noting that the clerks have been provided a pre-amendment sheet from our committee clerk in item 3.4. There's just one wording change. There was a not in there that is just being deleted under the reasons for approval because it was not a not, it was actually a positive, and so we're just getting rid of that negative in there.
Okay, so that'll be an amendment. I need a seconder for an amendment to make that change as was noted, seconded by Councillor Cuddy. So on the amendment, any discussion? Seeing none, we'll open that for voting.
Closing the vote, motion carries 14-0.
Okay, now we need an as amended. Willing to move, seconded. Councillor Cuddy, willing to second. Okay, the as amended motion is now on the floor. Any discussion on as amended? Okay, I need the gallery. I know you're talking up there. You think we can't hear you. Councilors at the end can, so. Although I will take the opportunity to kick you out, Mr. Wallace, if you want to keep doing it. Yeah, okay, good. All right. So this is on the as amended motion. Any discussion? Okay, we'll open that for voting.
Closing the vote, motion carries 11-3.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm now prepared to put item 9 on the floor. This is 1408 Commissioners Road. This is, there had to be an amendment to the bylaw after our committee proceeding. And so item 3.7 now has a new revised bylaw, which, apologies, adds the maximum of 2 parking spaces in the front yard with a setback of not less than 40 meters from the front lot line.
Okay, so that's going to be the same thing. I need a seconder for the amendment. Moved by Councillor Cuddy. We're on just the amendment, which is the change with the revised bylaw. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll open that for voting.
Closing the vote, motion carries 13-1.
And as amended, same mover, same seconder? Yep. Okay, any discussion on the as amended motion? Councillor Hopkins?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I want to just start off with thanking the committee for the work that they've done on the recommendation. I think we heard from the public the importance of enhanced landscaping around the interior and the boundaries of this development with those backyards, and also the tree preservation plan that is yet to be undertaken. That is very important to the community. And also for the photometric plan, which includes the light casting for the lights on the wall. So those things I think the public were very much in favor of, and I want to thank the committee for that. I want to start off with saying that I support infills. I have concerns, though, with the changes of the parking, the two parking spaces at the front of this building, which is completely directly impacted by the sidewalk and the busy road of Commissioners Road. And one of my concerns is that it's gone against our policies, hence we did a bylaw amendment to allow for that. There is going to be a road dedication as well. Who knows what's going to happen once that road is widened. But I have grave concerns that we are going against our policies. I would encourage staff to work with the applicant as they go through that site process, because there could be opportunities to allow for those 2 parking spaces to go along the side, not the back, but the side. So for that, I will not be supporting this application.
Any other speakers on the as amended? Okay, we'll open that for voting.
Closing the vote, motion carries 13-1.
And that concludes the 17th report of the Planning and Environment Committee.
All right, thank you. We'll go to the 17th report of the Corporate Services Committee. I'll have Councillor McAllister present.
Thank you. Happy to report 17th report for Corporate Services. Last one I'm chairing, and before it becomes the new Infrastructure and Corporate Services. I have had no request to have anything pulled, so I'm willing to put 1 through 6 on the floor.
Okay, so 1 through 6 is on. Anybody want anything pulled there? Seeing none, then you've moved a motion of 1 to 6. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll open that for voting.
Closing the vote, motion carries 13 to 1.
Okay, that concludes Corporate Services Committee. We're on to Community and Protective Services Committee. I'll turn it over to Councillor Ferrer.
Thank you, Mayor. Pleased to put the 14th report of the Community Protective Services Committee on the ground. I have no declarations of interest. Noting one item to be pulled, I am requesting myself to pull item 5. I'll be voting against that, so I haven't had any other pull requests. So I would be willing to put items 1 through 5 on the floor.
1 through 4, you mean?
1 through 4, sorry.
Perfect. Is there anybody who wants anything dealt with separately out of the 1 through 4? No, seeing none. Okay, then any discussion on 1 through 4? All right, seeing none, we'll open 1 through 4 for voting.
Closing the vote, motion carries 14 to 0.
All right, and you're going to have the vice chair present the next one since you're not in favor? Okay, you can do that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Putting number 5 on the floor, this is the Special Events Policy Review Public Participation Meeting Report. We did take several speakers from the gallery, and Ms. Finn from Tourism London was with us, as was Sunfest and a few others, and a discussion was had after comments were heard, so it's on the floor.
Okay, it's on the floor, moved by the vice chair. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll open that for voting.
Closing the vote, motion carries 13 to 1.
And I think that's your report, right?
That's all, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We're on to Civic Works Committee, the 15th report of Civic Works Committee. I'll turn it over to Councillor Hopkins.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to put the 15th report of Civic Works on the last meeting of Civic Works as well on the floor. I've had no one ask to have anything pulled, and I would like to have an opportunity for me to make comments at the end.
Yes, you asked if you could make some comments to just wrap up the year on the committee. I'm happy to do that. But first, let me just make sure we get through the business of the committee, and that's anybody want anything separate? Okay, then Councillor Hopkins, you're willing to put all of them on the floor?
I'm willing to put all 6 items on the floor. There's a number of consulting engineering reports that we received, as well as the staff's response to the ministry's KIC scooter pilot extension and the FCM and the city's general green municipal fund agreement.
Sure. Is there any other discussion on these items? All right, then go ahead, Councillor Hopkins.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. And I want to thank you, first of all, to thank you for the confidence that you had in me to chair this committee meeting. I want to thank the committee members for the work that they did and for it being a happy place for me to be at as well. I want to highlight the implementation of the green bins, as well as the ongoing work that's going on with the master mobility plan. I think those were 2 big items that we dealt with as a committee. I also want to thank council for their patience in me, as I have presented some lengthy reports here at council, so thank you for that. But most important, I want to thank staff and the work that ongoing work that staff has done. And as you look around the city, the many infrastructure projects that are going on as we grow and change. So thanks to staff, and many thanks to the 2 advisory groups, the Integrated Transportation Community Advisory Committee and the Environment Stewardship and Action Community Advisory Committee. Always appreciated the chairs coming out to our committee as well as their ongoing work. I just want to say it does matter, and I want to encourage the advisory groups to continue and support us as a council. Thank you.
Great, thank you for that. We're on to the fourth record, oh, sorry, we have to vote. Okay, we're gonna open that for voting.
Closing the vote, motion carries 14-0.
And that is
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
It just came to my attention that somehow my vote registered for CSC is voting against the entire agenda from CSC. So that is clearly not the case. I'm wondering, is it still possible to have that corrected?
So since we formally dealt with the report, Counselor, we would just do, like, we'd have to do a formal reconsideration vote. If you'd like us to proceed with that, we could.
Sure. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
So I need anyone in council to move reconsideration. Counselor Cuddy, Counselor Stevenson's willing to second. And this is the motion just to reconsider the Corporate Services Committee report because Counselor Van Meerbergen inadvertently voted contrary to how he intended. I don't think we have to have any discussion on that, so we'll open that for voting. Okay, that should be open now. This is the reconsideration. This is just the reconsideration vote. Hold on. It's because we're still in Civic Works Committee on the agenda, but the actual motion says Corporate Services Committee report be reconsidered.
Closing the vote, motion carries 13-1.
Okay, so now, Councilor McAllister, you get to stand up again because we're back to the Corporate Services report. You're presenting it once again because it's been reconsidered. I assume you want to put the whole thing on the floor again?
Yes, I'd like to put the whole thing 1 to 6. And following off Councillor Hopkins' comments, I do also just want to thank committee and staff for supporting the work of Corporate Services this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. So that's the entire Civic Corporate Services report on the floor. Any further discussion? We'll be ready in just 1 second. Okay, we're going to open that for voting.
Closing the vote, motion carries 14-0.
Right, thanks for presenting twice, Councilor McAllister. We're on to the fourth report of Audit Committee. There are 4 items. I'll turn it over to the chair to present those.
Thank you. Before I give overview remarks to the committee, I have been given no notice to pull anything.
Anything to be pulled by anybody? Nope, it looks like you can do the whole thing.
Thank you. I'm putting items 1, 2, 4 on the floor. All votes at committee were unanimous. Most of the conversations focused around the Middlesex London Health Unit. I'm just going to note that several committee members asked questions to Middlesex London Health Unit, which answers were not available at the time. Our request was that answers be made available prior to this council meeting. I've confirmed with myself, Councillor Stevenson had questions, staff, and the added items on our committee that those answers did not come in. So just flagging that for council that there was some outstanding questions that weren't answered. And then we were also advised at committee that the Old East Village BIA would be having their meeting, I believe, last week, and we'll see their finances in February.
Okay, any questions on the entire audit committee report? Go ahead, Councillor Stevenson.
Thank you. I just had a quick comment to make, and thank you to Councillor Ploza for mentioning that about the Middlesex London Health Unit. In terms of the briefing note from the internal audit and the audit plan, last year I had moved that the audit for the Safe London for Women and Girls be moved up. And we moved it up to Q3 of 2024. And unfortunately, because of some delays in the backlog of the audit plan, that's not going to be happening now until at least early to mid 2025. And it's unfortunate, and we discussed it, there's going to be more of an overview provided so that we can keep track of those kinds of delays. It is a concern to me, though it is a bit of an urgent issue. There are concerns about programs, policies, and services that we're offering and in regards to the safety of women. So I'll be talking about this more later, but I just wanted to raise it again, that it's an urgent issue that I think needs to be prioritized and that give council the information that we need to ensure that we are doing everything we can to create a safe London for women and girls.
Thank you. I just want to note, and maybe Councillor Pelosi, if you could take a look, attached to the audit report, there is a letter from the health unit. I'm not sure if that, I don't think that was dealt with at the committee. That might be part of the follow-up that was looking for. If you could just maybe take a quick peek to see if that is the item that covered some of the components. The clerk just pointed it out to me.
I'll take a look, as I know you also have Councillor Frank on your speakers list.
Thank you. I was just going to actually highlight that as well. So I think it was added to the added agenda, so it was circulated as of yesterday.
Yeah, so I'll just say, this is probably something, it got appended to the audit report. It probably should have been identified as an added communication that we then attached to the audit report. So pretty easy for colleagues to not see that. That's not normally the way I think we would have done an additional communication. So I just wanted to draw it to attention because that's probably communication we should have received and then moved to the audit committee report, attached it to this, and then dealt with it.
Thank you. Looking procedurally, how that would be noted now is, yes, it is a communication that come in after. It may or may not answer all our questions. I wouldn't have had a chance to go back because it's not part of the minutes. Just to make sure that if we've had this oversight and didn't catch it, just making sure that the public was following along, that they can easily find it as well.
So what we could do is add it being noted that an additional item of communication dated November 19th was received from the chair, if that.
Yes, please.
Okay.
And thank you to the health unit for sending it. I just want to make sure that it's highlighted since the information was provided.
So we will do that. I'm just gonna, to be expeditious, it's an it being noted, so I don't think any colleagues object to just adding that on. Okay, no one objects. We're gonna get that wording up. All right, we got that language up. So I'll go back to any speakers, further speakers. Okay, seeing none, we're going to open that for voting with the additional language.
Closing the vote, motion carries 13-1.
That concludes the fourth report of the Audit Committee.
Okay, we're on to added reports. 18th report of council in closed session. There's one item coming out of the Corporate Services Committee, I believe. So I'll have Councillor McAllister present that report from closed session.
Okay, the 18th report of council in closed session. This is just the one item, offer to purchase industrial land, MSS Group Limited, Huron Industrial Park, that on the recommendation of the Deputy City Manager, Finance supports on the advice of the Director, Realty Services, with respect to the city-owned industrial land located in the Huron Industrial Park C1 in the City of London, the County of Middlesex, containing 4 acres, more or less, and being composed of part of Lot 4, Concession 3, more specifically parts 5 and 6 on Plan 33R-21778, City of London, being part of PIN 08147-0337, and further shown outlined in red Appendix A, the agreement of purchase and sale, the agreement as Appendix B, submitted by MSS Group Limited, the purchaser, to purchase 4 acres of the subject property from the city at a purchase price of $1,035,185, and subject to the conditions and terms as set out in the agreement be accepted. That progress was made with respect to items 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, and 4.5 as noted on the public agenda, which are 6.1-17 PEC, 6.2-17 PEC, 6.3-17 PEC, and 6.1-14 Community and Protective Services.
Okay, so that's presented, moved by Councillor McAllister. Any discussion on that particular report? Okay, we'll open that for voting.
Closing the vote, motion carries 14-0.
All right, thank you, Councillor. Deferred matters, there are none. Inquiries, any inquiries? Okay, seeing none. Emergent motions, there are none. We're on to bylaws. Councillor Hopkins?
Yeah, if you can pull 394 and 396.
Can we do them together? Is that okay?
You can.
Okay, great. So 394 and 396. Anyone else? Okay, just give us a moment for that.
Your worship, maybe not. I'm not sure if anyone else is voting differently on 394, which is baseline.
Well, you just let me know what you want to do, and everybody else can let me know what they want to do. But if you want those separate, no problem. Okay, so 394 and 396 will be separate. We're going to deal with and we're going to deal with everything else first. Okay, so we're going to do first reading of everything except 394 and 396. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Cuddy and Councillor Stevenson will be mover and seconder, hopefully for all three readings. I see nods. All right, so we'll open first reading for voting.
Closing the vote, motion carries 14-0.
All right, and same mover and seconder for second reading. Any discussion on second reading? Seeing none, we'll open second reading.
Closing the vote, motion carries 14-0.
And third reading, same mover and seconder. We will open that for voting.
Closing the vote, motion carries 14-0.
Okay, and now we're going to do 394 and 396 together. As the next vote, I'll look for a mover and a seconder for those two. Moved by Councillor Cuddy, seconded by Deputy Mayor Lewis, which we will use for all three. Yep, okay, so we'll open first reading for voting.
Closing the vote, motion carries 12-2.
And second reading, same mover and seconder. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll open second reading.
Closing the vote, motion carries 12-2.
And third and final reading, same mover and seconder. We will open third reading for voting now.
Closing the vote, motion carries 12-2.
Okay, and that an hour and 40 minutes kind of feels like last term. That's kind of how council meetings went. We're done. I just need a motion to adjourn. I'll go by Councillor Cuddy and Councillor Hopkins as the seconder. All those in favor of adjournment by hand? Any opposed?
That motion carries.
All right, thank you. We're adjourned.